Nithyanandam, with the auspicious blessings and grace of my Guru, His Holiness Paramahamsa Nithyananda Swami, I make this video to share about an experience which I had as a sannyasi in the Bangalore Adinam of the Nithyananda Sangha, under the direct guidance of my Guru, Swamiji. There's two parts of this experience I wanted to share that had a particular impact on me during that time and even now. So I described in a previous video about how I came to understand about the power of responsibility and actually what responsibility means. But before that, there was a series of experiences and understandings that also led up to that moment of understanding what responsibility was. But before that, I was basically in charge of a department, which I didn't really know much about. It was transitioned from some other people, and there was a lot of change in the department. There was concepts I wasn't aware of. I didn't speak the language. There was a lot of backlog of work, and there was a lot of work to do, a lot of ideas, a lot of growth that needed to happen in the department. And I was not able to keep up. Literally, like deadlines being missed, work not happening, and then a lot of the end users for the department were not happy. So it was just like a snowball effect of failures. And it didn't seem to be getting better. It was just an ongoing thing that was happening. So one day I was talking to one of my sister disciples, and she just asked, like, how are you doing? And somehow it came out. She probably heard it in my voice or whatever I was saying, that I said I feel alone and I feel overwhelmed. And why I said alone was because there was very less people in the department and a lot of work. So a lot of times it felt like it was just me that was doing that work. So I felt alone. And as far as the overwhelmed part, I already described it. Things were stacking up and it felt like there was just too much to do and I'm not capable of doing it. And it was very logical. If I show any regular person the amount of work and then the expectations and the amount of time I was putting in or my capabilities, a logical person outside may think, oh, okay, that makes sense. Maybe you should, take it easy or, do less work or whatever. There will be some kind of sympathy for that. But as a sannyasi in the Nithyananda Sampradaya, you are not coddled, you are not given pity, and you are not, no one sympathizes with your lower image or your incompletions. I'm just saying that as a disclaimer. So I talked to Swamiji after that, and one of the beautiful clicks is when I first came into the mission and I was volunteering in New York City and working in the Sangha there, I had hardly seen Swamiji. Like, he came on tour and I met him there and I went on one yatra, but not much interaction with Swamiji. But I was always like remembering him, thinking of him, and knowing that he's with me. And Swamiji's presence was always there. And basically that's, Swamiji has coined the term Shakti Pada or Shakti Nipada. And it's so beautiful. And then there was this, the space I was carrying. And then when I was talking to Swamiji, he basically said, Ma, how can you feel alone? I'm there. And it just hit me. When I forget that Swamiji is with me, Swamiji is doing the work, then only that alone feeling can come. But if I remember him, if I'm working with a space of oneness with Swamiji, then there's no even concept of being alone. And for him to just directly tell me that, it was so beautiful, because it gave such a healing in that moment, and it gave me such a clarity, because I felt like, yes, I know that I've experienced that space, and it's just me forgetting that space, and I can quickly remember it. It doesn't have to be some big struggle of, how do I be in that space again. No, it's just I understood that I I forgot it. Now I can connect back to it easily. It's just a shift in cognition. And then later on, after this had all settled, there was some Adinavasi meeting, and um, some topic came up, I think had to do with our department. And Swamiji said, he just said, he looked and he said, don't tell Dhyanatma, she'll feel overwhelmed. And I was like, oh my God, overwhelmed. I knew that I shouldn't have used that word at the time. And I knew it wasn't the appropriate thing to say. Not because there's a right and wrong in the word choice, but it's spiritually, it's not correct. Feeling overwhelmed means what? You're giving more importance to this Maya matrix that's happening outside of you, which is basically so many people's incompletions hitting each other. And instead of to the space you hold for Swamiji, the powerful space he's given you, and instead of knowing that you can change what's happening outside of you, no matter what it is. So going from overwhelm means basically dropping from a space of powerfulness to powerlessness. And the way he said the word overwhelmed basically hit it on the nail of how powerless that space is when you feel overwhelmed. And I'll tell you, I've not used that word except maybe like once or twice in the past 4 years because it was such a strong experience for me. Even saying that word overwhelmed is just putting myself in the like wrong track, wrong cognition. It is not a word that should even be in my cognition. I may not know how to do something yet. But I can learn that. If there's a gap to learn, I can learn it. I can manifest it. I can make it happen. But even thinking that there's a space where I cannot do something is like a spiritual sin. And that was the experience I got directly, living in the Adinam and going through that experience really taught me that feeling overwhelmed is a spiritual sin. And so I'm very careful not to use that word. I'm only using it now just so I can tell this, share this experience so that, because I know whether you're in the Adinam, outside the Adinam, whether you're, raising a family, you're working on Wall Street, or you're a student in a school, or you're a teacher or a doctor, whatever it is, we all get to those moments where life seems like too much to handle. Too much is being piled on us. Too many incidents are happening. Things are not going our way. People are not understanding. Long list can be there for why we get to this feeling of feeling overwhelmed. But it's a very dangerous space to be in because you're basically taking the control of your own life and putting it on everything that's around you, which is practically like giving up on yourself or like suicide. Whereas what Swamiji teaches is no, if something is not happening as you want it, address it. There'll be maybe a practical solution to fix the outside thing. Or if it's something inside of you, if you're not finding the solution, that means it's definitely something inside of you. And you look in, complete with it, manifest the powers to make it a non-issue. So if you can imagine when that becomes your context, for me that was a big shift because even if I was successful previously or able to meet goals, there'll always be some limit. Like I deserve some limit of how much I can work or how much I'm capable of doing or whatnot. Like it's like understood there's a limit to what I can expect of myself, whether it's tiredness, whether it's the energy, whether it's intelligence, capability, physical strength. Yes, you go as far as what's required, but there'll be some kind of max limit which you reach at some point, which is not the truth, which is not what Swamiji teaches, and which is not what is we learn as sannyasis in the Nithyananda Sampradaya. In fact, it's the opposite. You learn that you have no limit, and anything, you can do anything. So the lesson I wanted to share is, don't even carry the cognition of being overwhelmed ever. Don't ever allow that space to come inside of you. If it starts to creep in, look at it, complete it, move on. It's not worth it because it looks very cozy. It looks very, it feels right because that's what society encourages, but it's setting you up for a collapse. It's setting you up for failure and more failure, as opposed to encouraging you to come out of your situation beautifully. And that's what you can do as a disciple of Swamiji. If you're just getting to know about Swamiji, you're wanting, some of these things are clicking with you, you're reading about him, you're watching his YouTube videos, I would say tune in to Nitya Satsang. The YouTube videos are great. You can play them at any time, but there's nothing like watching Swamiji live. So as much as possible, register with Nithyananda University. If you go to nithyananda.tv, you'll see the instructions. It's at 8 a.m. IST, and attend Swamiji's programs. You will get a lot of understanding by listening to these great truths from Swamiji. But you have to remember, you have years of wrong cognitions that you have built up. So it's really worth it to give yourself the time and to take these workshops whenever they're offered, to attend the Inner Awakening program, to help you undo these wrong cognitions that have collected over time. So I highly encourage you, if you feel anything about, if you feel related to this experience of how I was overwhelmed and I came out of it and understood that that's not the right space to carry ever, there's no room to have that kind of space, then you really are on the right track. And you just need to keep going down that track and allow Swamiji to guide you so that you achieve whatever it is you want to achieve in life. So thank you so much for allowing me to share. And if you have any questions, comments, as always, please share. And just remember, never use the O word. Okay? Thank you so much, and Nithyananda.